In this video, stop! My daughter is not cooked yet. Entitled ex-friend wants me to break up with my partner of 5 years to date her. And you want to take my security deposit? Perhaps you should read your own contract. Stop! My daughter is not cooked yet. This happened a few years ago in a parking lot of a mall I was going to with my mom, mid-July, nearly 39 degrees Celsius. When we get out of the car, I saw a movement at the corner of my eyes in the car behind us. I thought it was a dog at first, and I said to my mom, "What asshole leaves a dog inside a car when it's this hot?" When I looked again, I saw it was a baby, a 1-year-old girl, sitting at the back. I alarmed my mom, but she thought I was kidding. I was messing around and telling shitty jokes for the past 30-minute ride, and I was the kind to make some dark humor jokes like that. When she didn't believe me, I bolted inside the mall, saw a security guard, and informed him with the number plate I'd memorized. He made a call through the speakers saying, "If you're not at your car in 2 minutes, say goodbye to your passenger door." I led him to the car, my mom following us, dumbfounded by this actually being true, and also furious. The security stopped her from smashing the conductor window right there, and we waited, waving at the girl who seemed conscious through the tainted windows. A man arrived, yelling murder when he saw us. AH, stop, stop, that's my car, that's my daughter inside. SG, yes, you moron, there's your daughter inside, open the doors now. He unlocked the car and at the SG request took the baby outside. The car was an oven. She was soaking wet, covered with sweat, and started crying the moment she felt the relatively fresh air outside. The SG guided us inside and gave us a cup of room temperature water to drink for the baby. When he got the cup of water in his hands, while the SG explained to the cashier what was happening, the AH had the audacity to drink at it first. My mom exploded, screaming at him to give it to his daughter. He really didn't seem to understand what was happening. He actually tried to go back to his half-full cart when the girl had finished her cup. The SG stopped him just by putting a hand on his shoulder. SG, stay right there. My colleague will take your baby, okay? There, sit down. We're waiting for the police and for the ambulance to arrive. Stay calm, breathe. Your daughter is okay, but we have to make sure of what happened, okay? Okay. AH, after 2 minutes, to the cashier who was holding his daughter and giving her water nonstop. Maybe give her another cup of water. It's hot. SG, raising his voice, I straightened my back hearing him, like when your dad yells at your brother and you just want to make sure you don't draw his attention. Dude, shut the fuck up. The police are on the way. AH complied again. And we just left. We were just standing there low-key hoping to see SG kick AH's ass, and we were totally useless for the most part. So I gave my info to the SG and we went on our merry way. When we exited the mall after half an hour, the guy was gone, the daughter was gone, the car was still there, and the SG waved us goodbye with a big smile. We just assumed everything had gone well. I received a phone call 2 days later from the police, told and confirmed what happened, and learned that AH was facing a fine, years of prison, and had already lost the custody of his child. And thinking of that day is how I managed to be proud of myself every once in a while. Entitled ex-friend wants me to break up with my partner of 5 years to date her. So a bit of background. I've known entitled friend EF 27 years since high school. This was also about 4 years ago. The rest of the cast is me, yours truly, 26 years old, P, my partner, now spouse, 30 years. So EF and I had recently gotten in touch and we were talking about going to a convention together. We lived in separate states. P and EF were mainly in contact doing the planning since it was for my birthday. The only thing I got to plan was the cosplay outfits. It was determined that P and I would be in the state for a week and we'd tour the state for 4 days before going to the convention. EF understood this and the plan was to meet up Friday. So the week finally comes and we're touring the state when I get a text from EF. EF, hey me, I was wondering if you guys could come on Thursday and you could have dinner with my family. Me, let me talk to P and I'll see since the hotel reservations and events were planned by him. I talked to P and he said no just simply because there were no other bookings available at the hotel we booked at the convention and he had plans for that day. Me, hey EF, we can't come any earlier. The hotel is booked up and plus we have plans. We'll see you on Friday as planned. I didn't get a response from EF, and we left it at that since we were exploring a national park. Friday came around and we checked into our hotel and proceeded to meet up with EF. The hotel was also where the convention was. EF, hey me. She gave me an enthusiastic hug. Me, hey EF, this is P. I proceeded to put my arm around him. P, hey. We proceeded to walk around the convention, looking at vendors, taking pictures, and having a good time. As the convention went on, EF was getting clingy and would try to come between P and I. We would be holding hands and she would try to walk through them, etc. At first, P and I brushed it off, thinking she was just playing around. She started to get more aggressive, practically trying to drag me away for some girl time. She then brought up having me come for dinner at her house. I told her that P and I would need to discuss it and see when we would be available. We talked and determined that we would be available on Sunday since we had plans at the convention on Saturday night. EF wasn't happy but seemed to understand at the time. Sunday came and we proceeded to check out of the hotel and enjoyed the last little bit of the convention before heading to EF's house. We meet up with her parents and P had a good conversation with EF's dad. EF is being super clingy at this point and is practically trying to have me sit in her lap. P sees me a little uncomfortable with this. P, hey me, you about ready? We better head out if we want to get home at a decent time. Me, relieved that he noticed. Oh, right, yes, we need to head out. We tell everyone bye, and EF says to wait and runs off to a room to get something for me. EF, here, don't open this until later, and proceeds to hand me a thick envelope. Me, okay. I took the envelope and we proceed to pull out of the driveway and on our way home. A while into the long drive home, curiosity got the better of me and I opened the envelope. I read it over and it was a multiple type page letter confessing her feelings for me and how disrespected EF felt and how she deserved her turn since P got his turn for 5 years. I'm in shock. She was pretty much coming out to me, which I respected since I'm demisexual myself. I proceeded to message her and stated that I was not going to break up with P simply because EF wanted her turn. I was hurt. I'm not a ride or a possession. EF proceeded to say how P was emotionally abusive and that she would treat me better. P pulled over when he saw how distressed I was and after I told him what was said, proceeded to text EF and stated I was not a ride or a toy and was to be respected. She then texted me that if I wasn't willing to leave P for EF, then she would no longer be my friend. P and I proceeded with our drive back home and we never heard from EF again. P and I married a year later. You want to take my security deposit? Perhaps you should read your own contract. A few years ago, I was looking for a place to live and I came across an interesting advertisement looking for property guardians. The idea behind property guardians is that disused buildings are far more secure if they're occupied, so owners of empty properties will allow people to live there temporarily for incredibly cheap price. So the guardian gets to live in a usually quite interesting disused building incredibly cheap. The owner makes a small additional bit of income and has someone keeping their eye on the place. This arrangement is usually done through a third-party guardian company who act as the intermediary. This particular advert was for a pub that had recently closed. My interest piqued, so I went along to a viewing. The space was huge, and they were only asking for a few £100. All bills included, so I went for it, along with a group of other people. We all picked our rooms. I got the bar area, a huge room with an ensuite ladies and gents toilets, a big fireplace, and cozy pub decor. We also had full use of the sizable pub kitchen, beer cellar, dishwashing room, double garage, car park, and a massive garden with a barbecue area. For the most part, it was a great gig. I got to live in a pub, have all the space I wanted, and as the building was due to be destroyed, we could pretty much do what we liked with the internals. I put up curtains and temporary walls and made it so cozy home for the next couple of years. Other guardians moved in and out over the months, but myself and a couple of others were there for the long term. Aside from the odd dodgy person coming and going, I had 2 of my tires slashed at one point, but that's another story. All was pretty cushy. The owner of the guardian company, and thus the person I paid my rent to, was a large, red-faced man who was quite full of himself. He tended to be quite bossy and sometimes aggressive, but I stayed out of his way. As long as I paid my rent and didn't cause him trouble, he left me alone. All until the end of the tenancy. I had moved out, returned my keys, and I was awaiting the return of my security deposit. At some point, a car had been dumped on the property. I hadn't noticed because one of the previous guardians, who I'll call Rob, had pushed it around to the back of the property and had been working on it. I just assumed it was his car. The first of the emails from the guardian company read, The Volvo dumped in the car park was not reported to us and must be removed from the site. Rob has declined to take responsibility of the vehicle and has alleged it was reported to the police, and yet none of you have reported to us on such a serious issue. I would suggest that it be placed on the public highway and then the police will deal with whomever owns the vehicle. Wait, did you just incite us to commit fly tipping? I emailed back and said the car wasn't my responsibility and thus I won't be moving it. Things went back and forth like this for a while, with the owner insisting that we were all responsible. Emphasis here means it's important later. Stop arguing as I don't care, and if it's not gone, then you all be accountable to the issue. Rob was contacted and has said it's not his, and now the burden falls on all of you that knew about the car and failed to report it. At this point, I mentioned small claims court as an idle threat to see what would happen. You failed to report an incident that's something that is detrimental to the property. You are in breach of the license for failing to do so. Happy to see you in court and explaining that you were put into the building to act as security by occupation, and while there, you failed to report a dumped car. Right, it's on. I pulled out the contract and went back over it with a fine-tooth comb. At this point, another email came through. Dear all, please be aware that you were all under license at the property and not tenants and had no tenancy rights as is clearly stated in the license that you all agreed to and signed. Under the license, you act as security for the property and were responsible for reporting any incidents and also were responsible for keeping the property safe, secure, and as stated, any items left will be charged for removal. The items left were dumped outside and certainly were not there throughout your time on site and must have been placed there by one or more of you. This was accompanied by photographs of even more stuff that other guardians had left in the property, furniture, etc. But I wasn't going to be responsible for any of their stuff. This guy thought he could bully us out of our money because we didn't have a legal tenancy and were therefore not covered by UK laws protecting tenants. I wasn't going down without a fight. We may not be covered by tenants' rights, so everything would fall back to basic contract law. I found the interesting parts of the occupation license agreement that I had with the Guardian company. Damage security payment means the amount payable by the Guardian to cover the cost of any damages caused by the Guardian, but not anybody else. And since this contract is between myself and the Guardian company with no jointly and severally liable clause, I can't be held responsible for anyone else's mess. Great, but there's more. This one is interesting. 3.1 The Guardian Company provides services to property owners to, among other benefits, secure premises against trespassers and protect such premises from damage. The Guardian Company has agreed to provide such services to the owner in respect of the property. So, we don't provide security. That's the responsibility of the Guardian Company, which we're not a part of. But wait, there's more. The Guardian will 10.1.10 not remove anything from the property other than things that he brought there. Boom, gotcha. I fired back an email. Please see section 3.1 of the license agreement signed by myself and the Guardian Company owner. It stipulates that you, the Guardian Company, provide security, not us, the Guardians. Please also see section 10.1.10. Given that I did not bring either the car or the furniture onto the property, it would in fact be a breach of your own license agreement for me to remove it. In this case, I'll be complying with your contract and thus will not remove the items that I did not bring onto the property. Please return my security deposit within 3 working days or I will be forced to take legal action. The response: at this point, we're happy to see you in court, and please do not contact us unless via your solicitor, as we will be charging for our time to deal with such matters. If you can demonstrate who's responsible for leaving the items for us to deal with, we'll look at this. But as stated previously, these items were not there previously and have dumped them outside. All of you failed to report the car. Sounds like he was shaken up a little and probably hoped I was bluffing. Unfortunately for him, I wasn't. I filed the court papers after 3 working days. He caved as soon as he received the court papers and realized that I wasn't bluffing. He repaid our deposits along with my court fees the very next day. Victory.